Look at this stuff too. Somebody told me this was black oak, and I can see that there. It is kind of like a almost chocolate color there. It's definitely not red like red oak. Man down. Definitely not red like red oak. And it's not quite like white oak either. Not as stringy as white oak. White oak's really stringy,
so it looks
from
like
what I can tell. So I think it's black oak, like he said.
So it looks like white oak, but it's like red oak.
It looks more like white oak on the outside, the bark and stuff. The red oak bark looks different than that.
Yeah.
But it splits more like red. I mean, all oak is tough when it's knotted. But white is the toughest. I think I've split. I've heard pin oak is real bad too. I may have done that without even realizing it. But there's cherry. Very little maple. I've seen maybe a few pieces of maple. Cherry and black oak. I think there's more black oak than anything here though. See, there ain't much left of the cherry pile. Some of those are cedars. He's keeping them. I'd say another 2 or 3 loads here. Firewood.
Yep. Okay, let's make some of this 100 splitter. Start with that piece.
Here we are back out at the cherry pile, I call it. But it's got probably now as much black oak as anything else left. But when I first started there was a lot of cherry there. It doesn't take long to clean these piles of wood up when you're selling it by these big loads like I do. As you can see here, it takes every bit of that pile there and even a little more, just maybe I think 4 or 5 rounds more though, to fill in that truck. So that shows you how much wood it really takes. And I know other people that do it, you know, they got more of an idea, you know, people that sell it or they do their own wood or whatever. But some people don't realize how many trees or how much of a tree or trees it takes to fill up a big load like that. And that's not even a cord still. That's just around 2 face cords. So I have delivered it by the cord before with a trailer. But I wanted to kind of make this video for one thing because this is what I was doing. And I thought it'd be, although I've already shown this many times, kind of just another video to explain why I hand split the way I do, and many other men do as well, like Buck and Billy Ray, you know, him for example. And me and him even split very similar, but there's maybe a few differences. And one of them being that I noticed he picks his wood up and clears it out of his way, you know, as he splits, which is smart. And that's something I've never really done. I have before to a certain extent, but I don't now, you know. And I'm not recommending that to anybody because you can easily trip on that wood. You can, so. But what I normally do is I like to handle the wood as little as possible. Like right here we have a pile of red oak, black oak, cherry, and maybe just a few pieces of maple, not much at all. Mainly black oak and cherry. Actually, I think more black oak than anything in this pile. I maybe said that already, but and so what I like to do is just split this stuff and then load it. That's what I like to do. You know, I'll stand it on its end sometimes. In this video I did, and I was just trying to give you an example of even if you've got the wood piled like this, you can split it without even really picking the wood up and moving it. And that's another reason I don't like a chopping block. You know, I see a lot of guys do chopping blocks. And I'm not saying anything in a mean way at all. I'm just saying as far as production goes, and what I mean by production is the best way I can think to explain that, trying to get a certain amount of a product. And the product here is firewood. So I'm trying to get a certain amount of that product in a certain amount of time, you know, for a certain delivery, you know. So it may be 2 face cords, it may be 1 face cord, which is about a truckload loosely thrown in there. It may be 3 face cords, which is a full cord. It may be more than that, you know. It may be you may need 3 or 4 cords. And so what I mean by production is I'm trying to produce as much wood really in as little time as I can. And another thing I'm trying to do, me personally, in doing that is save my energy and time. So a chopping block, excuse me. A chopping block, to me, is a waste of energy and time. And, you know, I know there's guys that take care of their axes, and I don't blame them. There's some axes out there that are very expensive. But I never want an axe, that I'm just going to treasure and worry so much about dinging the thing up to where I'm not going to use it. I don't want any tool like that, to be honest with you. Of course, I want to take care of my tools, but if I'm going to have something and I can't use it the way that I want to, like I do that Fiskars there, without having to worry about, the head getting too banged up or whatever, then it's not the tool for me. I'm not worried about having pretty tools and keeping them pretty. I'm just not worried about that. I'm not. I never have been that kind of guy. I never will be. Not saying I don't want to take care of my stuff, as I said, but when I have an axe to use for splitting firewood, that's what I want it for, splitting firewood, or whatever I'm using it for. If I'm chopping with, I want it to be a good chopping axe. I don't want to have to worry about keeping the thing pretty. Not saying I don't want to take care of the axe. The handle and everything. If it's wood, keep some linseed oil in it or whatever. That way it doesn't dry out. And I don't want to shatter my handle or anything like that. But what I'm saying is I want a tool that I don't have to worry too much. Kind of like my truck, my work truck. If it gets, dings and dents in it, I'm not too worried about it. If I had a big, nice new truck, I would be worried about that because it's so expensive. I'd probably be paying on it, of course, and then worrying about dinging it up at the same time. So I just don't like to have things like that, to be honest with you. And I have had nice mowers and stuff like that, mowers that are around $6,000 mowers and stuff, and that I want to take care of and stuff. And I did, take care of them, I felt, for the most part. But I want my tools to be put to use. I'm not worried about hanging them on the wall really. Later on, I plan to have more axes and stuff like that, but I plan to put them to use. If they get dinged up, so be it. I want them to put to work. That's what I want them for. And maybe in the future, even to sell sometime. I am definitely wanting to make some handles in the future. I've actually even got some other things of mine of maybe trying, but I'll get into that later on a little bit more. But something to me that saves you a whole lot of time, if you can get comfortable with an axe, and it does take a little bit of time to get comfortable with an axe. And what I mean is, I wouldn't recommend going out and splitting like this just after, having swung an axe much and you just see somebody else do it, going out and doing this, because if you hit yourself with that axe, you can easily go into bone. It will probably go into bone. It will probably go into bone. And so it can be very, very dangerous, of course. So I don't recommend it if you're new with an axe. But once you get comfortable with an axe and everything, I would highly recommend trying to work on hitting angles like this and stuff. It saves you so much time and energy. You don't have to bend over to pick that wood up. I've seen guys bend over and pick the wood up every time it falls over, and it happens a lot. Think if you've got 500, or let's not even say 500. Let's say you got 100 rounds of wood, or 50 rounds of wood. Just say 50. If just say you split them in half, and you need to split them more. And so you got every one of those 50 pieces of wood you pick up once even, then that's you picking it up 50 times. Say you got to pick them up twice, that's you picking the wood up 100 times. I don't want to pick it up at all if I don't have to, other than loading it, me myself. It saves so much time and energy. Time is a huge thing for me when I'm trying to split production like this. As I said, I've done 3 of not just the big loads like this right here, the truckload that you see. I did 3. It was around full cord one day before, and that was because I was splitting like this and I was pushing a certain pace, and you're not always going to want to do that. But I'm saying if you want to split production and get it done in a certain amount of time, this is the way to do it, in my opinion. It saves so much energy. It saves your back from bending over all the time, And as I said, I've sharpened that Fiskars maybe one time in the last 2 years now. And that thing splits fine. I mean, all you got to do is watch my videos and you'll see that the axe splits fine. I don't think you need to have a real sharp edge on a splitting axe. A lot of people seem to think that. I don't agree with that myself. I think it's good to have somewhat of an edge, of course, so that it can penetrate. But once it penetrates, the wedge does the rest of the work. And the force, behind it. So to me, having a real sharp axe head, I really don't like because it sticks. And I know some guys they like to pick their wood up with their axe, and that's fine. That's good for that purpose if that's what you want to do, and move your wood around. But me, the way I split, I don't worry about picking my wood up until it's all split. And then when I pick it up from there, it goes in the truck bed. That's the only time I really want to pick it up, other than you know, when I'm getting it out of the woods or wherever I'm getting it at, standing it on the end usually is what I do, as you've seen probably if you've watched my videos. And so I want to stand it on the end and split it, and then I don't want to touch it anymore from there if I can help it. You know, sometimes I will. You'll see me in my videos every now and then. I'll if one's got a knot or something and I know hitting it on its side isn't going to split it, then sometimes I'll stand them up. I use my best judgment, and I try to do it quick. And after doing thousands of these, you get used to it, and you kind of get an idea of what angle to hit and where to go around that, how to get around that knot and things of that nature. It's really not that hard once you do it for so long. You put a lot of time into this kind of stuff and doing it, you know, like I have for a living. And the thing is, too, I've not been doing this all my life like some people think I have. Some people have commented and said that, you know, this guy's probably been doing that his whole life. No, I've only been doing this about 4 years. When I started my Firewood lawn care and landscaping business, I started Firewood that same winter. And I watched Buck and Billy Ray, and I went and put it to work. But the thing is, one full winter of you doing this, you know, you're out there, that's thousands and thousands of swings you're doing when you're doing it all by hand. And I did. Except 1 year, I think, I had some huge rounds from a tree service at near the end of the year, and I rented a log splitter to split those at the end because they were huge and knotted pieces of oak, white oak, I think. Really bad pieces. Probably the biggest white oak I've ever had. And I did rent a log splitter and finish those up and was able to sell them to somebody, I think, who had an outdoor wood burner because they wanted bigger pieces like that. But as I was saying, I feel if you practice, you know, good practices from the beginning, you learn the good techniques as soon as possible. You know, there's tricks and good techniques to just about every job out there that make it so much easier and so much more efficient, you know, and make it to where you can save your energy and all of this and produce more in a shorter amount of time. So the more tricks and things you can learn and good techniques that work that you can learn early on and put those to use and practice those again and again and again, the better, in my opinion. So my first year doing it, I felt very comfortable, and I feel very comfortable with an axe now, you know, especially as far as splitting goes. Chopping, I'm still new to that, and chopping nothing I'm ever going to get big into, you know. I enjoy chopping with an axe and everything. It's more for fun for me, but it's nothing this is what I do for a living with splitting. I don't ever plan to get huge into chopping me myself, but I do enjoy it. I really enjoy felling a tree with an axe. It's just something really enjoyable and accomplishing about it. But as I said, in my opinion, this is the most efficient, energy-saving, and fast way to produce firewood by hand, you know, with an axe or a maul or whatever. Now, with a maul, it would be harder to hit the angles, in my opinion, an 8-pound maul. I think you could still split like that, but I would prefer like an axe like that right there. That Fiskars to me is a good balance. I love having that 36-inch handle. The head, I think, is like 4.25 pounds or something like that. So, and then the axe itself altogether is just a little over 5 pounds because the handle is not heavy. And the handle doesn't bother my hands by any means either with it being fiberglass. I know guys have problems with that. It don't bother me at all. It really doesn't. I honestly, when I'm using that handle and a wooden one, I don't even tell a big difference to me myself. I really don't. I have wood-handled axes, and I can't tell a big difference. I think that's more of a mental thing for men, but, you know, everybody's entitled to what they want. And I will use many in the future. You know, I plan to use many as well with wooden handles because I plan to make my own handles and put different axes together and things. But the reason I use the Fiskars so much is because I've yet to find a head that splits like it does. And, you know, I've seen other guys, you know, nowadays they're making more splitting axes. And in the past, you know, they didn't, you've seen axes that had profiles that worked for splitting, but they didn't split as good as a maul did, you know. That's why you didn't see them as much, because when people wanted to split, they used a maul. They didn't use axes very, very much. And even now, you know, you can split with an axe, of course. But some of them just don't have the profile for it. I mean, they really don't. And if you split with them, you know what I mean. You can split with any axe out there. You can split with them. That you know, any axe head that has an edge whatsoever, I believe you can split wood with it. That doesn't mean it's going to be the most efficient or best one you can use. I've used axes that get stuck, and it takes so much energy sometimes to get them out, and it's so aggravating, you know. having the right tool for the job means a whole lot when you're hand splitting for production. It does. And that's why I love that Fiskars. And I've heard a lot of bad things about it, and I don't understand them. I mean, the people that's saying so much bad about them, they'd be hard-pressed to find an axe that split better, in my opinion. The Adler Super Splitter is one that has a head very similar, and a guy was telling me about that, Matt. He had a channel called the Vintage Axe Hoarder, but now I think his channel is called My Timber Sports Journey or something of that nature. And he's really good with an axe as well, and really good handle maker. Real friendly guy too, just a real likable guy. There's a lot of different people in these firewood communities, and I can tell pretty quick usually who's the kind of person that I'd want to talk to and who isn't. Because I've got comments from both, on here. There's of course you're going to have lots of different personalities in all the communities on there, or whatever you want to call it. I guess you could call it a firewood community because there's a lot of guys on there that do firewood. And there's a lot of different personalities, and some are very easy to want to associate with, and some are very easy to not want to associate with, I've found. And so that's what I do. The people on there, there's certain people that are very supportive of me, and I try to support them back and everything. And then there's other people too who have commented, and you can just, it doesn't take long to realize, you probably won't be talking very long, you and them. But that's how it is, That's not a big deal. I knew that's life. And so that reflects on YouTube as well. But I have met some very friendly people on there. Brian Two Bears is one guy that's very friendly on there. And Daniel Adkins. Let's see who else. There's so many different channels on there. Who else? Matt is another one. The one I was saying, the Vintage Axe Hoarder. He's a very likable guy. And there's a guy named Peter too from Germany, and he has a channel on there. And one of them is called, I think, PIT Husqvarna, I think is his channel. And he's a real friendly guy, and he's been really supportive to me. And lots of other channels as well, that are on there. Lots of other people, who are doing the firewood thing and who are very friendly and supportive. And it's good to see that. But, and I know everybody has different opinions, on everything. And I'm not against guys that use hydraulic splitters or anything like that. I don't like them myself by any means. And I've talked to a lot of people about that. Even people that I deliver to sometimes when they figure out how to do it by hand. Because they'll ask me sometimes, they'll say, do you do this with a splitter? And when I tell them, no, I do it by hand, they're always pretty surprised about that. And the people seem to think you can't get a very big production doing it by hand, but no, you can. I mean, I've actually seen splitters on here, on YouTube. I've watched guys do videos of like these homeowner splitters that you get, or I guess you could say like box store splitters, like your average log splitter, I guess, which are not cheap. And like the one I had was a Troy built, I think, and it had a Honda engine on it. Started right up. It started great, but it was very slow. Very, very slow, and it didn't have a log lift, so if I had big rounds, I either had to split those rounds down or lift them up there. And so for me, I like hand splitting so much more. And I'll tell you another thing I like. When you have seasoned wood and you can go right to the wood and the wood is seasoned, it's been down for quite a while, you can buck the wood right there, you can split it and load it and take it right on, Otherwise, unless you're getting the wood delivered to your home, you have to go out and get the wood. I've seen guys, go out and buck it and load it up, and then they take it home and unload it, and then from there they split it, and then they got to load it back up again and then deliver it, But when you're doing it by hand like this, you go to the wood, you buck it, you split it, you load it, and you deliver it. And that's one thing I really enjoy about it. And I will say this, though. This coming spring and summer, I intend to continue doing firewood, which is something I normally don't do, because normally what I do is just landscaping or lawn care, in the summer, and that keeps me so busy that I don't really have time for firewood, really. But this past year when I was just doing landscaping, I had more time because I had quit the lawn care. When I was doing lawn care and landscaping, it was hard to keep up with both of them. Sometimes I was working till dark. and this coming year I actually plan to get back into lawn care, and to a certain extent, and I'll be putting that on this YouTube channel as well. So, but I do plan to stack the wood up as much as I can this spring and summer. So that'll provide some content, for the channel, and that'll provide wood, for next winter, or once this one is over. I mean, so that way it'll be so much easier. I won't have to worry so much about getting it right on the spot, and then taking it on. Which I've done it like that for years, and I'm fine with doing that. I've got a good idea of how long it takes, to split it, and how much I need, and when you've got a good source of wood and you're able to do that, to split at a certain pace and everything, it's not too hard to get your orders filled, when people are requesting wood. But it would be a lot easier, if I had it stacked up in the summer, and then when it comes winter, in the times I'm not delivering, keep stacking it up. That way I can just keep wood. It'd be so much easier, because if somebody calls wanting 5 loads or something like that, that's a big order to do on demand, And I've done those, but it's a big order to do it. Whereas if you've got it stacked already, you can go outside, load it up, and take it on to them. It just makes it easier. And a lot of guys do that. I see a lot of guys on here, and they're really dedicated to the firewood business as far as like year round and things like that. I'm not myself. I never really have been in the summer and stuff like that. Now near the end of the summer is usually when it starts for me. Like I normally, it seems like start in August. Seems like that's when people start calling about the wood. And then it lasts until, actually it's going to slow down here soon, probably. So we're in February and March, firewood doesn't have a whole lot longer left as far as, deliveries and stuff like that. And I've even got calls in the summer, stuff like that too, but usually it's for like a truckload or something, because we have a place up here called the Red River Gorge, and people will go get a cabin up there for the weekend or something, and they'll want firewood, and there's no telling what they charge them up there for it. And so I've had people buy truckloads from me just for that in the warmer, months and everything, warmer seasons. But I do plan to try to stack it this year. But as you can see here, what I'm doing, the way I'm splitting and everything, you hit angles and stuff. You don't have to. I don't know that I've been over and picked up any of this wood yet. I was trying to make it a point not to, just to show that. And it's all piled up and everything. And what I do is just reach down and grab it with that axe. And that's why I like that 36-inch handle, because it like that right there. It's almost like a picaroon in a way. And even though I don't stick my axe head in the wood, you can still hook it with your axe head and pull it. You can still do that. So that's why I don't worry so much about having a sharp edge, to where I can just pick it up and move it, because I don't move it anyways until I'm loading it into the truck. I don't want to move it out of my way and then move it into the truck after that. I just want to split it and then load it into the truck. And everybody, does things different. I've seen that. But what I try to do is do whatever I know is going to save me time and energy. And this is the way that I found that does both. And as you can see, I'm walking on it there, which ain't the safest thing. I've done it many times, and it's a little more piled up than usual, because usually my wood isn't that piled up when I split it. If you've seen my other videos, usually I just stand the rounds on the end and split them, and you've got more room to walk like that. Here, it's piled up pretty good. But I wanted to show that you can split it like that just fine. And just be careful with your axe, any tool is dangerous if you're not careful with it. Lots of tools are. An axe is definitely one of them. But in my opinion, as I said, this is the most efficient, energy-saving, and fastest way. I don't like chopping blocks. I've had people tell me to try tires, and I've seen other guys use tires, and I understand why they do it in the setups they're doing it and stuff. It seems to work good. It contains the wood and everything. But if I did that, then that means every round I did, I would have to stack in that. To me, all of that is time that's adding up. And it may not seem like a whole lot of time, but it adds up pretty quick when you're doing a lot of wood. It does. And not only time, it's energy too, because that's every round you're having to stack in there, in that tire. And once you get that one split, then you got to get another one put in it, or a bungee, wrap it around it, split it, and then you got to. I feel like the guys that have done that maybe haven't really split for production a whole lot. Not that have done that, but that recommend those things. I feel like they haven't really split for production very much. Didn't take too long. See, it's a lot less handling too. No chopping block, no bungees, no tires. Yeah, some people use bungees to hold the wood together. To me, all of that is time that isn't as well spent as if you just use your axe, learn how to use it good, learn how to hit angles. And to me, part of that is having a good splitting axe, because they're not too heavy. They bust the wood open, they don't wear you out, and you can hit angles with them. Like the old Fiskars there. So that didn't take too long. You seen that was a pile of wood. This may make a big load, I don't know. We're about to load it and find out. But as you can see, that didn't take too long. A pile of cash right there once you get it delivered. There's work put into this, you know, all of it, bucking it, splitting it, loading it, delivering it. There's work, there's definitely work to it. It's physical work. It's very enjoyable work too, though. But I would not even recommend, to be honest, do it splitting like this until you get comfortable with an axe. I really wouldn't. And honestly, starting out, maybe even get some of those like chainmail leggings or something, you know, because if you hit your leg with one of them, and it's very easy to do, if you do, you're going to the bone, swinging from an angle. I mean, I'd hate to be responsible for anybody doing that. So before you split like this, I would try to study up on it. And I've seen lots of guys on there seem to think I've done this for a long time as far as like splitting, you know, with an axe. I've only been hand splitting for probably, let's see, this is my 4th year doing firewood, so about 4 years. Some guys in the comments I've noticed, they think that I've been doing it my whole life. I haven't. I just watched Buck and Billy Ray, studied them, and then I went and put that to work. And with, you know, my first year I got comfortable. Now I'm very comfortable. So it just shows you, if you put your mind to it and you work hard and you train yourself right and everything, you can really grow fast. I've not been doing this all my life, but a lot of people think that I have. It doesn't take that long really to get comfortable with things like this if you practice good practices from the beginning and do it a lot. When you're doing it like this, there's no telling how many thousands of swings, you know, it takes to do this over the years. No telling how many cords I've delivered that have been hand split, and how many thousands and thousands upon 10,000s of swings does that take. There's no telling. So once you swing that much, your accuracy gets better, you know, your swing gets better, your power gets better. And definitely strength does help in this, you know, it does. You don't have to be a big bulky guy to do this, you know, everybody's different, but strength plus speed equals power, they say. So that's how you generate power with this. But a lot of the times you don't need a whole lot of power. You really don't. Now, some of the bigger rounds, sometimes, yeah, it takes some power. It does. But a lot of times you don't have to have a whole lot of power in this. I'm probably swinging about 40-50% a lot of the times, if that even. So, but as you see, no chopping block. To me, those, you use so much time and energy with the chopping block, and just so unnecessary. And you don't even have to bend over and pick the wood up all the time. I do that every now and then if I think it's beneficial, but you really don't have to. And that's what I was trying to show you with this video. Anybody, you know, if you just want to make some extra cash or whatever, you go out and buck the wood up and split it. Of course, you want seasoned wood, you know, you want wood that's seasoned. But we got it done. That's another load. Well, we think it is. We're about to load it up and see about where that puts us, and then we'll show you after that. But it's just far more efficient to split like this if you can learn how to split hitting angles, you know. Hit angles with a good splitting axe like that, something that ain't going to wear you out, something that you can hit angles accurately with. You can move the wood with that. I like that 36-inch handle myself for the momentum you can get with it, and for reaching out. It's like a picaroon, really. You can just grab the wood hook it and pull it in wherever you need it. So to me, this is by far the most efficient way to hand split. And I ain't the one who invented it by no means. I'm just another guy who uses it, and it's a very good method in my opinion. I've tried other ways. I do this for production, selling, you know, to people for a living, and I found this is the fastest, most efficient, and energy saving way. Handle the wood far less. But what I'm doing here is just giving you, you know, my opinion on how I feel about this. You know, this is my 4th year splitting firewood for a living full time in the winter. So you got to think, you know, in order to do that, you've got to split a decent amount to make a living. And so I feel like I've done quite a bit of it, and enough to learn, you know, what works well for me anyways. And I believe it would work well for a lot of people, you know, if they would give it a try. And I understand, you know, if people don't want to as well, and people that want to stick with, you know, chopping blocks and everything like that. I'll never use one myself, unless it's for kindling or something of that nature. I never intend to use a chopping block, me, myself. And so we ended up getting enough here. I think we had to split 4 or 5 more rounds, and I already had them laying around there that were cut. There were some that I actually had missed that were down in there, and they were mainly almost limb wood. So I split those up, and that ended up filling in the gaps I needed to fill in. And so this made a truckload, and I think it took around 20 to 25 minutes doing that. And that was, you know, not splitting at a real hard pace or anything like that. And so in around 20, 25 minutes splitting with that method, you know, to where I already have the wood bucked and everything. And no chopping block, no bungees, no tires. I'd rather not use them all because it's harder to hit angles with, and it wears you out faster. And to me, it's not necessary. If you've seen any of those down the middle videos I've done, I've split some huge rounds with the Fiskars down the middle. And now normally if I'm splitting for production, I would not be splitting huge rounds down the middle. And a lot of guys I know don't understand that, because they comment on my videos a lot about that and say, you know, you're wasting your energy and all this stuff. But I'm doing exactly what I'm intending to do, and that's generate views with those. And they've far exceeded what I thought they would. But normally what I would do if I had, you know, big rounds, I would do the smartest thing, which is chopping the sides off. And that is what I normally do. And in order to do that, you don't need a big heavy maul for anything. You know, a good splitting profile and just a decent amount of weight. You know, 4 pounds and up, in my opinion. But not. I wouldn't go any higher than 6 pounds, because once you get into that, you're pretty much getting into maul weight. And that's just my opinion. And for hitting angles, those are harder to hit angles with, and they wear you out faster. So really, to me, you know, 4 to 5 pounds really is what I like in a splitting axe. But anyways, this is just my opinion. This is the way I like to split for production. It's the way that I've found that works. You can split a lot of wood in a short amount of time. You save a lot of energy. You do a lot less bending over. And you can just get a lot more done like this. I found that to be true. And so I'm just sharing this with others. You know, if you ever decide to go out and want to split for production and you're comfortable with an axe already, I would highly recommend trying this method out. But I appreciate you watching, everybody. I appreciate all the positive feedback. Everybody that's been supporting us from the beginning, we appreciate it so very much. And we're extremely surprised with how well the channel has done and is continuing to do. And I have plans with this in the future, and I'll mention more on that in the future. Not only, as I said before, it's kind of an extension of my business to bring in more income for me and my family, but I have intentions of doing other things as well. And the more I see this thing grow and the more I see things happen with it, the more possible that seems to be to me. But I truly appreciate it. But until next time, anybody that does this, please be safe. We appreciate you watching, and God bless.